Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show. I'm your host, Krazy Kajeevie with no fears, limits, or substitutes. The bad boy of James Bond is back, and the layoff has been over a month now, but I'm back with an interesting story. So I saw this article pop up tonight about Phoebe Waller Bridge apparently being the first choice to direct the new James Bond film. Of course, there's no title. We're just calling it Bond 26. Now, look guys, this is a rumor, so you can take it with a big old glass of salt. There's no truth to it, of course, like everything from the Aaron Taylor Johnson rumors to even the weird looking blonde lady whose name I can't remember, but I'm sure I'll put it in the video when I do my edit, so it will be right here, is apparently rumored to play M in the next James Bond film as well. So it's all speculation, it's all kind of rumors, and it's always from a secret source. Now, of course, that source is never named because the source is probably, well, bullshit. But it's interesting bullshit nonetheless, so I thought I would report on this. So Phoebe Waller Bridge apparently in talks to direct Bond 26, and yes, I find this quite fascinating. Now, Phoebe has never actually directed anything other than a video clip. Now, in my research, well, my non-research, I haven't even bothered to go and look up the video clip because I really don't care to waste 5 minutes of my life doing so. Apparently the video clip's not that great, but she directed a video clip. And there's another website that have claimed that Phoebe Waller Bridge is a renowned director. Well, Phoebe Waller Bridge hasn't directed anything other than said video clip. She wrote and she produced with Fleabag and Killing Eve, or an executive producer role, but in my limited research here on Phoebe Waller Bridge, she also didn't direct any of those episodes as well for either Killing Eve or Fleabag. They weren't directed by her. So of course she got the big name globally because she was brought on to co-write, or at least to punch up the script for No Time to Die, to add in female elements and some humor. And obviously when you watch No Time to Die, especially the very woke kind of completely out of place dialogue for a James Bond film anyway, when Obuchov is talking about killing his co-workers with some Ebola soup or whatever, one of the workers is like, oh, that's not very nice, and you can tell that is Phoebe Waller Bridge. And then there's a scene where Madeline is going up to her office and one of her co-workers is walking down the stairs, and she refers to the person waiting in Madeline's office, who we learn later is Safin, as, I think it was a bit weird or a bit odd. And Madeline turns around and says, you can't say that. That is the sort of shit that Phoebe Waller Bridge comes out with, and we don't need in a James Bond film. So ultimately, what do I think of this? Well, I will always go back to my first real introduction to Phoebe Waller Bridge with the number one reason Solo sucks is the script sucked. And the other thing that really sucked that had nothing to do with Phoebe Waller Bridge was it had the worst lighting in it that I have ever seen for a big budget Hollywood film. The lighting in that film, the bloke that did the lighting should never work in Hollywood again. And then you've got Ron Howard coming on board, and he's still not correcting this horrible lighting in that film, how dark and horrible it was. But ultimately, my memory of Phoebe Waller Bridge in Solo was her running around, which I'm imagining was maybe dialogue she worked on with Jonathan Kasdan to pump up this kind of woke ideology dialogue talking about freeing the slaves. And then of course the most disgusting scene ever put to a Star Wars film was her talking about basically making it work between her and Lando Calrissian having sex.
What?
Where the female character played by the chick from Game of Thrones says, how does that work? And then Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, who is L337, the weird looking droid, says, oh, believe me, it works. And it's just gross.
Thank you.
Kids don't need to hear that. Adults like myself don't want to hear that. We want to go to Star Wars for a good time. We don't go to Star Wars to hear about the rainbow LGB alphabet people agenda. That's not what we're watching Star Wars for, and it's not what children are watching Star Wars for. So she completely sucked in that. Now, I'm really scared and worried about how much she's going to suck in the new Indiana Jones film, but apparently she's going to be playing the granddaughter of Indiana Jones, or the daughter of Indiana Jones. So how true that is, I don't know. That's just a rumor, probably a logical one, but Horse's face is now part of James Bond, has destroyed, well, her part in Star Wars she destroyed, and now she's going after Indiana Jones. So woke producers like Kathleen Kennedy and Barbara Broccoli are woking everything, putting their sexual weird crap and their feminism crap into anything they can. So I'm praying that Indiana Jones does not suck. Now, do I want her to direct a James Bond film? No, I don't, because this would be virtue signaling at its finest. First of all, she hasn't directed a feature film, not even a low budget, small feature film. So why on earth would you give her potentially, whether it's $100 or $150 million budget, depends on how big they go with Bond 26, which I believe they should keep low budget and go back to basics and a much shorter runtime. But why they would hand her this franchise is beyond me. Personally, my choice to direct a Bond film, and I know he would cost a lot of money, but the audience he would bring with him would guarantee you would have a James Bond film go over $1 billion. And it's Steven Spielberg. Let the guy direct a James Bond film. Pay him $20 million. Pay him that. Right? Or pay him $15 million and let him direct a Steven Spielberg James Bond film. Because over the years, the directors that have come on board have definitely brought their influence into the films they've made. Like Mark Forster, he wanted to do a bullet type film with Quantum of Solace. He wanted to do something a lot shorter than Casino Royale, something fast and action packed, and we got a film where the story, the plot, the characters weren't fleshed out, and it's an absolute mess of a film, and the shortest James Bond film with a short runtime out of all of them. I think it, from memory, was about 103 minutes, and it didn't work. The film needed to be fleshed out a little bit more. And then, of course, we've got Cary Fukunaga, who wokeified No Time to Die 2 degrees. Was it shockingly woke as we probably thought? No, not really. But at the end of the day, really, most of the blame also has to sit on the shoulders of Barbara Broccoli and Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig wanted to kill James Bond. Barbara Broccoli allowed him. Barbara Broccoli also created the character of Nomi. And Barbara Broccoli gave Nomi James Bond's famous 007 number. So that is on her for doing that. But of course, Cary Fukunaga was just there for the paycheck. He went along with it. And yeah, he's a capable director. Could he direct another good James Bond film? Yeah, I think he could if he came on from the very beginning and the get-go. I still think the guy's really capable. I would actually prefer, like I said, Steven Spielberg to get to direct his James Bond film because he can direct action. Can Phoebe Waller Bridge direct action? Well, no. We've never seen her direct action. So do I want her to be involved in it? No. If she was going to direct it, I believe she would be writing as well. So she would be writing and directing. And I think she would probably, if she was writing on her own and obviously directing on her own, she would be the first writer-director of a Bond film. Now, I know Cary Fukunaga wrote No Time to Die, but that was in collaboration with other writers, where she would be the first solo just writer and just director, if that were to happen. And her working on a screenplay, I think they would see from the get-go it would probably be better if she did it on her own. Maybe that's what they would want to go for. I'm hoping that's not the case. Also, it's come out recently that she said she basically did little to no research on James Bond when she came on to write No Time to Die. And a lot of her ideas were pushed out. They said, no, these aren't appropriate for James Bond. So imagine what she would then be doing if she's behind the camera directing Bond 26. Like I said, guys, it's probably just a rumor, but I don't want Phoebe Waller Bridge anywhere near James Bond ever again. James Bond is a fantasy for us males and females to go along, women to see the guy they want to be with, and males to see the guy they wish they were. Gadgets, babes, locations, humor, violence, action, that's what we want. Bring back Ian Fleming, forget the political correctness, and just give us Ian Fleming style James Bond and go back to the blueprint of those John Glenn directed 80s films. You know, I think if they go back close to that blueprint, it's a perfect thing for the next James Bond film. But Barbara Broccoli, in my opinion, has completely lost the plot. I think the woman's unhinged. I think she's so into left-wing ideology and ruled by puppet masters that we don't even see, and most of you don't even, kind of like Mr. White and Quantum, don't even know exist. And so in her personal life and what she's into, I think she's ruled by some very dark powers. That's kind of all I'll say at the moment. And so is all of Hollywood. And that's why they're all pushing to destroy the nuclear family, destroy manhood, and as they call it and label it, toxic masculinity. And they're trying to push this feminism and, like I said, destroy the nuclear family so they can literally destroy society and destroy and decimate families with all the crap they're pushing. I will never go back on that. Since I started the James Bond show back in 2019, I've always been honest with my views. Basically, everything I said about the last 3 years, everything came correct. I was right about everything. The damage, the harm, and everything that was going on. And I was right about all the rumours with James Bond as well. And what would happen, James Bond dying, James Bond having a daughter. Pretty much everything I said came true.
Have you ever heard the expression, the customer is always right?
And one thing that apparently didn't come true was, Rami Malek wasn't Dr. No. Any knobhead, anyone knows Rami Malek was originally Dr. No, and for whatever reason, they changed that. So he was even called Doctor in the film as well. So guys, that's what I've got. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Would you want to see Phoebe Waller Bridge direct a James Bond film? Would you want to see her write and direct a Bond film, or have anything to do with it? What do you think, guys? What's your take on it? Me, I want either Martin Campbell or Spielberg to direct, or an old-fashioned British director who's not some crazy art house director, just someone who can come in and do the job to do it. That's what I'd like. Till next time, guys, keep on bonding and say hi to your mum for me. Daisy May Cooper as the next M? You serious? Cast that witch-looking thing in Hocus Pocus 2, not a Bond film. Look at the nose on her. Look at that honker. Blah!